Lovers Quarrel. It's a long, sustained quarrel.
What's going on, world?
Hey, everybody.
It's your guy, TJ, Mr. New Cool.
And it's your girl, Dani, your typically tired taper.
What's a taper?
It's a mammal. Is
I
it?
don't know about the taper that you get from, like, your pants.
No, it's like, I could be mispronouncing it, actually, so I don't want to be.
How do you spell it? Taper?
IR. But it's a mammal. It's kind of like a pig. So
It's kind of like...
I think it's tapir. Tapir. Maybe that's what I'm mispronouncing it.
It looks like the shit off of Lion King.
Like a warhog?
Kind of.
Oh. Yeah, I think it's a taper. But anyway, that's what I am. Typically tired taper. And welcome to another episode of Lovers Quarrel. We're coming to you a day late and $1 short, but that is okay. Yeah, words. That is A-okay and all right because...
I'll take blame for it this time. So I had just gotten back from Mobile, Alabama, and I got back late, and I left my work phone in my Uber, so that was a fun thing. This trip was just weird for me, right? I was trying something different, I bought this garment bag. I'm gonna be a little bit more sophisticated. Make sure that my suits and stuff don't wrinkle. But in doing that, I didn't have a book bag, so I had to walk around with my laptop in my hand, or one of my staff members allowed
carry
me
it for you.
Yeah, she put it in her bag for me. So that happened. I forgot my belt. So that was something. Like, one thing about me, I like my order. I like doing things the way that I normally do it, because if I don't do it that way, then I wind up forgetting something or things get messed up. So I like do things in a certain way. So
you thrive when off of routine and procedure.
I do.
You're more organized. You're more. I mean, obviously most people thrive off of routine and procedure, but TJ is arguably more disorganized or scatterbrained person sometimes. So when I feel like when you have like a more set and strategic routine and procedure for things, like it helps make you like calmer and like less agitated and less forgetful.
Possibly so.
Possibly. You don't think that that's true about you?
Sure.
Okay, so we're going to be lying this episode. Got it. Anywho. But yes, we're here. We're recording. We are a day late. But like we said on our post today, we were going to record today. Get this out to you guys so that way we can catch you up on what's been going on. So let's do that right now. And we are going to get on our elevator. Would you like to go first, or would you like me to go first?
I'll go first. Are you going up or down?
Up.
I'm going up too, so.
Going up.
Being away, and I don't know. I've been getting more sentimental lately. I'm really thankful for my family and the family that I have, and I'm able to do the things that I want to do in life because of them. Me and Dani have a very powerful village that I'm so thankful for. Her side, my side is our side, so it's just one side, but it's just we have that, and then I'm really able to be great in life because of my wife. Like I'm able to do the things that I need to do. I'm able to accomplish the things because I have the partner that I have. So I'm thankful for that, and that's why I'm up. I'm just things can always be worse, but I just feel like family, like when you have that family, like, when I was miserable and I had things going on in my life, my family was there. Mm-hmm. They were the ones checking on me. They were the ones being intentional and stuff like that. They got me through my darkest moments. So, that doesn't go unnoticed, but it's just, shout out to y'all. Y'all are dope, so.
Well, you're welcome. And on behalf of the rest of your village, I'm sure they would say you are welcome as well. I am going to keep the party going and going up. And like TJ mentioned, he was away for the weekend for work. And similar to last weekend, we, myself, Tatum, but this time my mom and my sister, the four of us went back to the National Harbor because TJ reserved us a weekend, another weekend hotel stay because he knew that he wasn't going to be here. So he was like, it'd be a fun thing for Tatum, because even prior to TJ and I having our anniversary weekend at the hotel back in March, in February, my sister and I did like a sister weekend, and Tatum again also expressed interest in wanting to do a quote unquote girls weekend. So TJ, helped make that happen when he saw the time and the opportunity for us to, get away and go back there. So Tatum, of course, got her life and lived and had the best time. And it was great, and memories were made. And, I even had a really good conversation with, my mom and my sister, because I guess, I don't know if I don't want to say get too heavy into the conversation about my mom and my sister when we talk on the show, but like, I am very close to them, and they are definitely, like to TJ's point, such a pivotal part of my life, our lives. So it was nice to be able to kind of just hang out with the two of them kind of uninterrupted, and for us to like be there together as mother and daughters, and mother and me and mother and daughter to Tatum. And it was just really, really dope. And my other part of my great weekend is that I got to see my line sisters, most of them, not all of them, but our anniversary was in April, but this past weekend was the first time that all of us, or most of us, could get together. Excuse me, y'all. Pregnancy, exhaustion. So, some of my line sisters I haven't seen since like last summer. Some of them I haven't seen since over a year ago. So it made me really happy. We did like a private candle making class. We got food catered. It was really, really cute. And
money.
I would like to think that we are all very, successful, established working women. Yes. And so we had paid my line sister Raisha. That's my boo. She organized it because it was her year, since it was our 14th Deltaversary, and she's our 14. So yeah, basically we got that done, and we had a great time catching up, talking shit, eating, and making candles. So that's my elevator, and I'm really grateful for having had the time to spend. And I want to thank TJ publicly, as I have thanked him already in private for, creating that opportunity for me.
When you thank me?
I definitely...
I'm playing with you.
Oh, God. Because you play too much. Anyway, so yeah, I'm just thankful for that. And again, because it's a great time for me to spend with my mom, my sister, and my daughter. And like, as Tatum was calling it, Girls' Day, Girls' Day. It was really nice. But yeah, that's my elevator. So now we're going to, again, keep things moving right along. It is time for our relationship tip of the week. I can start us off. Sound good?
Go ahead.
All right. So my relationship tip of the week, which will expound upon a little bit, is that compromise works best when all of the cards are on the table.
Yeah, explain that.
So what I mean by that is, in relationships of all types, you're not always going to be on the same page about everything, right? Agreed? Yes. But the goal...
I nodded, sorry.
Yes. The goal is, of course, if you can't convince the other person to kind of join your side or whatever, you try to find a meeting in the middle. You want to compromise on something. But if you aren't being transparent, if you aren't communicating your truest feelings or concerns or hesitations or reservations, whatever it might be, or fears, anger, whatever, if you're not being transparent and kind of putting that out on the table as you're talking through the compromise process, then really, even though you might be on the surface compromising, you're setting yourself up to potentially be like resentful, is what I feel like. So And I say that from like personal experience because I have done that in the past. And it's something I try not to do on a more in my current life. But I know that there's been times where in the past where TJ and I are diametrically opposed to something. And we think we're coming to a compromise, but I didn't really, for whatever reason, I didn't really share all of my feelings about something or all of my fears or concerns, whatever. And so while there has been compromise agreed upon, I have not always, but sometimes I have been left with like feelings of like feeling unfulfilled with the compromise or sometimes resentful of the compromise. And I know that that's not a good feeling. So just kind of like when I thought about the tip and reflecting on the past instances of that, it made me think that like, you know, in order for compromise to work most effectively in a relationship with a person, there has to be, of course, communication and transparency on that subject. And so you got to put your cards on the table so that way you know what you're operating out of. And that is my relationship tip of the week.
That's cool. My tip is, I've seen it online and it's something that I want to try to implement, but I do think, and you know, it's called the 2-2-2 marriage rule. And so it's every 2 weeks you go out on a date. Every 2 months, go somewhere overnight. Every 2 years, go away for a week. Stick to the twos and we'll bless your marriage. And I seen that, I sent it to Dani. And, you know, I don't think that every 2 years you go away for a week because we'd like to travel.
Mm-hmm. But the other 2 years.
But adding these things to our repertoire, I think can, you know, be purposeful, you know? And I think having something that you can utilize to say like, okay, every 2 weeks, me and you gonna go out on a date somewhere, you know, every 2 months, we're gonna go somewhere overnight, you know,
get a hotel.
Yeah. That's Dani's favorite thing.
I love a good hotel. Excuse me. I'm sorry. Pregnancy stuff. I'm tired.
So for me, I just think that, you know, sometimes you need tools to help you in your relationships or help you be purposeful. So
yeah, guides are helpful.
So I do think that having some type of marriage rule or dating rule, relationship rule, friend rule can help you be purposeful, you know? And again, this doesn't have to be only in marriage. If you have a best friend, once a month, me and you got to get up together. You know what I mean? Once or every 2 months, we're going somewhere. Or, you know what I mean? Whatever it is to help you and your relationships thrive, utilize it.
To stay connected.
Stay connected and not keep it mundane and boring and, you know, because we get into our groove, we get into our set, and it's easy to be comfortable.
Absolutely.
So.
And I love the idea of going away, especially because there's just a different feeling you have when you're not home. Because even when you come home, you feel like, oh, I got to put those dishes up. Oh, there's that load of laundry in the washer. I got to move to the dryer. Oh, there's, you know, it's, again, I don't know if I'm speaking for both of us, but I know for me, like sometimes it gets, like unless the house was like 100% pristine, everything is in its place, the place for everything in its place, that it's sometimes, not always, but sometimes it's difficult to like not let your household responsibilities, because they're looking you dead in your face, kind of consume you or take over, you know? And so that's why I like the idea of like hotel stays, weekend hotel stays, because it's out of sight, out of mind. And that way you can really focus and be more intentional on spending time with the person that you're with. So that's how I feel. But that's a good one. I think we both have really good tips this week.
I win.
Oh my gosh. I think we should call it a draw.
My show, I win.
Your show.
Yes.
Your show.
You're just a guess.
Anyway, sir. This time in the show is where we go over our Black History facts, because we know that we celebrate Black History every week on the Lovers Quarrel podcast. So,
I'm gonna go first.
All right.
Yeah. So mine is Dr. Peter Murray Marshall was installed as president of the New York County Medical Society and became the first black person to head an American Medical Association unit on May 24th, 1954.
Dope.
So, like I said last week, and I'm going to keep saying it, black people still, regardless of all the adversity that they were dealt with and they endured, they were still successful.
Still our eyes.
So it's just, it speaks to us, and it speaks to, they could have been like, it's way too racist, I'm not going to have an opportunity, but, you know what I mean? They moved forward. So I love hearing and reading and seeing these things, because it just reminds me that, like, they didn't give up, so you can't give up. You know what I mean?
Yeah. We're going to be... And maybe not me and you specifically, but like there are people that are living now and have yet to be born that are going to be the trailblazers and the leaders that in 100 years they look back on and like, oh, these people made it possible for us. So we have to make sure that we sustain and we keep that going by honoring and acknowledging the people of the past, and then also doing the work to continue to push the barriers and break down the barriers and push the envelope in order to, find equity and equality in this cruel ass world. My fact is that on May 24th, May 24th, 1910, Walter M. Hard, a young black barber, had invented a device that would improve trolley car service enormously. Hard's device, which he patented, made it almost impossible for the electrical contact on top of a car to slip off the overhead wire. This would eliminate many wasteful delays trolley car riders would suffer when the contact slips and the car stopped dead. So think San Francisco, which is the only place I can think of right now that has those trolley cars. He invented the device that made sure that the trolley car stayed on the active cable, so that way they wouldn't have to end up with the trolley cars stopping dead in the middle of the street and people not being able to get where they need to go. So what might seem like a very small thing is a huge, accomplishment, and it's still utilized in some capacity to this day. And it was in 1910 by a black man. So shout out to Walter. And that is our Black History Facts for this week. We hope you enjoyed them. And we have now reached the part of the show where TJ does his damnedest to stump me with his SAT word. Do you have your word ready for me, good sir?
I do. This week's word is cicerone.
Cicerone.
A guide who gives information about oh my gosh.
Spell that word.
Antiquities.
Antiquities?
Antiquities.
So like antique items.
And places of interest to sightseers.
Okay. So like a tour guide.
Let me make sure it's pronounced correctly. Oh, I put it on.
Cicerone.
What did I say?
Cicerone. That's not that terrible.
Yeah, but no, because I don't want because you stump. I don't want you to be like, oh, you didn't pronounce it right.
You might get me this week because I have actually never heard of that particular word.
I love when you do that. When you preface, that means you don't know it.
That's what I just said.
I know, but that means that you truly don't know it, and you do it as like
it's a tell.
It's kind of like your safety blanket. It's kind of like, I know I'm smart, but I'm gonna say this so that way you know that I'm smart. I just don't know this word.
That's because I'm humble. I'm not gonna.
That's not humble.
That is humble. I feel like if I'm acknowledging that I don't know every word, and so I'm prefacing myself by saying like, yeah, I've never heard of this.
You got it, sis. Spell the word.
Because like, what would I look like coming out of the gate? Be like, yeah, I'm gonna spell this shit right, and then I'll be like, loud. Like, there's nothing worse than being loud and wrong. It's one thing just being wrong, being loud and wrong.
That's true.
Is like, to me, that's just.
I can respect that.
Yeah. So Cicerone, and it's a guide who helps people find tour antiquities and what?
Places of interest to sightseers.
Cicerone. Dang. And it's like the sound, so it could be a C or S.
Shout out to my sister Ashley for giving me that word.
This is unsurprising because Ashley is a very intelligent woman and knows her words.
And she's that I'm not intelligent?
I'm not saying that you're not intelligent, but she knows she's better with words than you.
That's crazy to me. Go ahead.
She's a bibliophile. And I think that was a word you gave me in the past too. All right, Cicerone. Cisseroni.
The streak is broken.
By how many letters?
You fucked that all the way up.
I spelled it phonetically.
CIC.
Okay.
ERONE.
Okay. Yeah, I see. Like I said, the sound is C or S. So, and then Cicerone could be I or E at the end of a word.
Cut that ass.
Yeah, well, with an assist, a heavy assist.
Gosh.
But yeah, you can have it.
I wasn't even a heavy assist for real, but you got it.
It's a heavy assist. She gave you the word.
That wasn't a heavy assist. Like it was just I was telling her I was looking for a word so I could stump her, so I could stump you, and then she was like, "Oh, you can use this word of the app day," and the word of the day was Cicerone.
Okay.
No S's.
Okay. Well, now I'll bet you I won't forget it.
You know what has an S in it? Loser.
I was gonna say something, but never mind.
No, go ahead. Speak your mind, sis.
No.
Sis has S's in it too.
So does Lisp, nigga.
Too far. Too far. That's what you about.
This is why I don't say mean things, because when I say mean things, then I'm told I'm going too far.
No, it's cool.
Y'all would not believe. You describe it because you're facing that way.
So we're recording, and Tatum, she just had her dinner, and then she decides to come sit on the stairs. She looked at us, angry, and then she laughed because she know what she's doing. So now she's just playing. Now she's giving us a show, and now she disappeared. So yeah, now it's time for you guys' favorite part of the show, as Danielle would say, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay. The quarrel.
All right.
But before we get to the quarrel, listen, shout out to my guy, Reek.
Yes.
Jack in the Box is coming back.
That was a great time.
It really was. And I'm going to miss it because I will be away when it's happening. So maybe I'll catch the fall.
It's in July?
It's in July. So I won't be there.
And I'm all pregnant.
Y'all, if you're not afraid of COVID...
hopefully you're vaccinated.
Or if you're vaccinated and you want to be a part of something that has great vibes.
Good music,
but that's a part of vibes. And
good drinks, which is part of vibes.
Yeah. I mean, again, it's only Jack Daniel products, but I like Honey Jack, I like Apple Jack. Shit, I even like a Jack and Coke. So, listen, go to the OG Black Man page, or you can go to the 4 Good Brothers, and then number 4 Good Brothers, and there will be the link and everything that you need to be able to go. But listen, 61 days until Jack in the Box return, and it's going to be on July 24th in Brooklyn, New York, 1709 Street, Marks Avenue, next door to Clean Right Center, from 5 to 10. Make sure you click the link in their bio and you go get your tickets.
And that's my type of party. Starts at 5 o'clock, over by 10. Beautiful. But that makes me so sad because like we went to the one and it was like November. It was cold as shit, but it was so much fun.
Yeah.
And and I feel like you're having a good time when we went to Brooklyn in like the dead of winter, and had a really amazing time in this spot, and the music was great. And that was the same weekend of our live show, I think. And we went to that first, I think. And then the next day was our live show. And it was amazing. And
it gave me like high school vibes.
It did. It really
was like
did.
High school party.
Up on dancing with boys on the wall. And, just
freaking on some butt.
It was a good time. It was definitely a good time.
Getting a dub, as they say. You know what I mean? So support that. Again, if you feel comfortable going out, I'm pretty sure they'll have social distance measures and all that stuff. But then again, New York is about to open back up. So
it is. But folks, please just remain vigilant and remain safe. COVID is still out there.
I think wearing the mask can help, right? Because then you really can't see the person's face. So you should really just, it's just about the vibe. You can't even be like, is this person ugly or not? So ladies, make sure you freaking, make sure you throwing that butt on them,
Oh my God.
Fellas, make sure you being responsible out there.
And then step away 6 feet and ask to see, make sure they got a nice grill.
Nah.
Teeth are important.
I feel like you're taking a shot.
I'm not taking a shot because
I feel like you're taking a shot.
Even before you lost your tooth, like we all agree that like if somebody had like a fucked up grill, like you'd be like, ooh, like things happen.
But if they had a good personality,
there's always going to be exceptions. But the body and the heart are attracted to what they are drawn to. They're drawn to what they're drawn to. That's all I'm saying.
That's fair. Now we can go into the quarrel. Go ahead.
So as all of you know, TJ and I are expecting another bundle of joy, and a thought that I thought we could talk about and maybe we might have differing views on is the thoughts, fears, excitement, concerns, whatever, about what it is to be expecting another child in your family, but it's a child that is of the opposite sex of the one you currently have. So we have our beautiful Tatum, and now we are going to have a son. So, while there are things that are going to absolutely be, cookie cutter and the same in the sense of, at least maybe in the very beginning, hopefully, there's going to be a lot of things that are different in our approaches as well, or how we handle things. And I thought it'd be kind of cool to talk about that as far as like what has crossed our minds, the concept of raising a child that is the opposite sex of the child that we already have. So do you have any like immediate thoughts or things that you've thought about since finding out it's a boy?
I kind of look at it a little differently. My thing is every child's going to be different, and I'm not big on putting expectations because as we learned with your first pregnancy, you had expectations of not getting drugs, not having a C-section and all this other stuff, and then it happened. So I don't know. I just, whatever God gives me, my only thing that I worry about is he going to be healthy? Mm-hmm. Everything else we'll figure it out. Personally, I'm not like, oh my God, it's going to be a boy and what that's going to look like.
Okay.
Personally.
That's fair. And I hear you with that. I've probably had more thoughts, but I tend to overthink.
You do.
And especially with things that feel somewhat foreign or unknown to me. So I've had thoughts about like, okay, in general, like regardless of the sex, I would say this, regardless of the sex of this child, it was going to be like, damn, this is a whole new person that we have to get to know. Their personality could be just like Tatum's, or they could be the polar opposite of Tatum, or somewhere in between. And, it's the thought of getting to know someone at that level of intimacy, like a parent knows their child, and thinking like, sometimes I'm like, can I know him as well as I know her? And I know it's true. I know I will, but it crosses your mind, or crosses my mind. I think about, I would be lying if I didn't say that I do have. I'm glad. Let me say this. I'm glad we found out the sex of this child, because I think that I'm a little bit more apprehensive about having a boy, in the sense that I'm less familiar with that experience. Like I grew up around more like girls in my family, so I feel like I had a better grasp on it, and then I also like as a girl, a woman myself, I understand that side of it. So there's that part of me too. It's just like, I'm like, what things am I going to face that may come up simply because he is a boy versus a girl, and so like, and will I be, prepared, equipped to handle it? And again, it's just like kind of like anxiety talking, and I recognize that, but the fucked up part about anxiety is that even though part of your brain is telling you you're being irrational and don't stress it or don't sweat it, you also sometimes can't shake that feeling. I've had to. I think as each passing day goes between the day we found out and the day that he arrives, I will be like more and more in a better place with it. And I will like, and I feel like once he's here, like a lot of those like worries and anxieties will kind of just melt away, and I will just take everything as it comes.
But what is your worry, I guess? Or what is your fear?
I think it's more so like it's like a fear of a little bit of the unknown. Like there is an unknown factor to me anyway in having a boy versus having a girl, because I am now accustomed to a girl, a daughter, and so and like I said, like I acknowledge that like they're like, as far as the way we parent, like there's going to be a lot of overlap with that because that's just you and I. But
I'm not gonna be able to yell at him. You're like, not my baby.
No, I'm not gonna be like that.
Not my baby.
No, I'm definitely not gonna be like that. That's dead. Like, whatever energy you give Tatum, you better give him too. Or don't give either of them that, or you cease on both. So
I would never do something like that. But I
wouldn't be like on some like, cause
you weren't this nervous with Tatum. You weren't like, what kind of mother am I going to be, or what's the sex going to like?
I think I was a little nervous, but I think that was also like
Is it because it's a boy?
Some of it is. I think it's because there's, like I said, like there's a little bit of an unknown factor for me there. So it's like, and like I mean, we'll never know because of the order in which our children came. But if it was the other way around, like I could be sitting here saying the same thing if Tatum was a boy and now this baby was a girl. You know what I mean? And I've always said, like, when I growing up, everything else like that, I've never been like, I don't want a boy, or as far as like, or anything like that, but I've only ever really been able to wrap my head around the idea of being a mother to a girl. But that's simply, I think, has to do with a lot of how I grew up, because it was just my sister and I. And so I saw that that was the dynamic in my household, whereas 2 daughters. So that's the thing. And I mean, I don't know if you've maybe had
Not anymore.
Well, my point being is like it's you and your brother. So maybe, I don't know if maybe when Tatum arrived, you were like, were there aspects of, okay, so I do overthinking and you do underthinking, and that's we can balance that out, or
you sound like you're getting defensive.
No, I'm not trying to be defensive.
And it's not a thing of you're right, I'm wrong, or anything like that.
No, I'm definitely not feeling that way.
I didn't have.
You were just.
I was just excited to be a parent. I have no expectations for what I want Tatum to be. Like, I want her to really live her own life. So I just want to give her the tools and stuff like that. But I don't want to plan my child's life.
I don't either.
You know what I mean? Even though I'm having a son, I'm not going to be like, he has to play basketball. He has to join a fraternity. He has to be an alpha like his father. No, I want him,
Yeah, of course.
And I know like some people, it's like, well, you're naming him after yourself. I've heard people say like they wouldn't name their child after them because they want their child to build their own whatever or be their own person. But my thing is, he's just the third version. He's the third person with the same bloodline. Name that, but whatever he does is what he's going to do.
Yeah, I mean, a name is just a name, and like I know we've talked about that before, and it's like, while that was it's not something that I naturally gravitated toward when I thought about naming my children eons ago or whatever. I can respect the the meaning, the meaning that it has to you in him being the third and, you know, being Trey and all the other stuff like that. So it's, yeah, but I mean, I guess maybe it's not a quarrel or whatever. It's just a really different, it's just a different side of things. I do have these thoughts. I do have like anxieties about it or whatever. And I'm just learning to be like okay with them and to sit with them, but also like to not let them consume me or anything else like that, because I do know it'll be better once he's here, because then all that other stuff will come out the window. And like, even when people talk about like, oh, do you feel like more, because that was a question that I got a lot because since we didn't find out what we were having when we had Tatum, and then we did find out this one, they were like, do you feel, I wondered it myself. I was like, would there be a greater level of attachment or feeling to the baby while like they're still in the womb, in knowing the sex versus not knowing the sex? And I feel like more so than not, the answer is kind of the same, because I haven't seen him. I haven't held him. Same thing with Tatum. I didn't see her. I hadn't held her. So it's like, I feel like he's moving while we're recording and stuff like that. And while it just, you know, it feels like, it's like, I know it's a baby and I know it's this human that me and TJ made. And it's like cool, but then it's also like, I still don't know who this person is. I don't know his personality. I don't know if he's going to be a crier, if he's going to be a chill baby, if he's going to sleep through the night, if he's going to love science, if he's going to love basketball, if he's going to be a Lakers. Like, it's all these things that it's still like, you know, it's all these like variables that you don't have an idea yet. So that really, like, those are the little tiny things that make you love a person. And of course, like, just laying eyes on them, you know, like having Tatum, of course, affirm for me like this instant love at first sight. And I am anticipating that feeling again when I lay eyes on him. But I can be honest in saying, like, I didn't feel that feeling with Tatum, that intense, overwhelming love, until she was here. And I think,
saying that's because you didn't know?
No, because when people have asked me, do I feel a greater connection now in knowing that we're having a boy? And that, like, being able to say he and being able to say our son and all that stuff like that. Whereas when I was pregnant with Tatum, it was like the baby buyers, you know, like there was a little bit, it was more vague. So people have asked me, like, do you feel a different connection or a greater connection? And I guess my answer is, if I had to like give a percentage, I would say I would still be a more majority of like the level of connectedness I feel is the same as when I was pregnant with Tatum, which is like, I feel this connection. It's like this human I'm growing inside of me. I know I love them, but that like intense, overwhelming, like, you know, almost like looking at them in awe, like, oh my God, this human is here. They're mine. That part doesn't, for me, as a person, doesn't really hit until they're born.
I mean, that's fair, I guess.
Yeah, and so, but...
So right now you're saying you don't love your son?
That's not what I'm saying.
I'm asking a question.
No, that's not what I'm saying. Of course I love him, just like I loved Tatum when she was growing inside of me. But the overwhelming, like, mama bear, like complete wonder and amazement and awe feeling that I got, that I did not get until I had Tatum, I'm in that same kind of stage now, which is like, I don't have like the wonder and awe and everything else like that, because it's like, I'm going to need to see him and hold him, I think, in order for that for me to make it over that threshold. And that just lets me know that knowing the sex or not knowing the sex really isn't a deciding factor for me. It's just about seeing this person that I'm growing, meeting this person that I'm growing. Because right now he's a baby inside of me that is kicking me in the bladder every 10 minutes, but it's not this person that I'm like looking at and they're looking at back at me, you know? And, you know, learning that that's okay. But, you know, I'm learning to like honor and like name my fears and my anxieties that I might have. I had them with Tatum. And I have them now, but they're just different. Like, I had more, so like when I was pregnant with Tatum, I had more like I feel like just new mom anxieties. And now these anxieties that I have now are more like, okay, what does it mean? How will it be different in raising or raising a boy versus having and raising a girl? I know that they will be certain things that are just completely like, it doesn't even matter. It's just the kid and that's it. And then I know that there's going to be differences. And so it's going to be an adjustment. But
I mean, definitely will. I mean, I'm definitely, I think I'm like nervous. I am nervous in the sense of like starting over.
Oh, I'm about to say, I was like, you're not nervous about having a boy.
Oh. Yeah. Why would I have been?
I know. I thought that's where you were going. And I was like, no. I was like, not at all. But you're nervous about starting over again. Why are you nervous about starting over again?
Because it's like, Tatum wasn't a lot, but she wasn't, you know what I mean? Like,
she was a pretty good baby.
Yeah, and we may get, like you had a really good first pregnancy, but your second pregnancy was tougher in the beginning. Like, is that going to happen? And then we, we're in COVID, and then we also have to worry about, Tatum's going to be starting pre-K next year, and I have, anxieties about that. Not anxiety, but fear.
Yeah, that's the fear and anxiety. They're like kissing cousins. Like they want to, they go hand in hand, and that's normal and that's natural. And I think the thing is, like, I'm even glad that we're like having this conversation now because, sometimes I don't want to feel like I'm like burdening you with my thoughts, because I know I tend to have a lot of them when I'm worked up about something or I'm overthinking something. And I know that is, I don't want to be like unfair to you, but at the same time, I don't want to like completely shield it from you either, because I don't want it to be like, if I like, God forbid, I like had a meltdown or something like that, then you're like, well, this is coming out of left field. And it's like, no, I've felt this way for a while, but whatever, you know what I mean? So like, I'm glad that we're having this conversation in kind of a neutral space of sorts, even though this is our quarrel segment, because it makes me feel better in saying that, like, yeah, I do have anxieties about having a boy. I do have anxieties about having 2 kids, I have anxieties about how Tatum and her brother are going to, like, how Tatum's going to adjust, right? I'm going to have anxieties about how you and I adjust, because 1 kid is a lot and can be a lot, and 2 kids definitely could be a lot. Mm-hmm. And, and that all just depends on the dynamic and things like that. And then, like you said, we've got COVID. So, that's the thing. TJ and I have had the conversations about what our visitation policy, I guess is the only way I can think of it, is going to be. And we're preparing to communicate that out to both of our families. So that way anyone interested in visiting us understands what we're looking for in order to do that, because we have to think about, ourselves, and we have to think about our children. And, I'm in a position now where I'm weighing the options around getting vaccinated before I give birth, because I do plan on getting vaccinated one way or the other. But and having conversations with my obstetrician and doing the research and things like that. So when I get to the 3rd trimester, there's a decision I have to make. And these are all the things that, like, being a parent in general is like already, like, these are so many things you have to think about. And then being a parent in the middle of a pandemic adds another layer to all of the things you have to worry about. Because, when Tatum was born, of course, it was like, well, I can't take her up to my school to visit my kids and my coworkers until she's at all her shots, until she's after 8 weeks. Now, it's like, now you got to worry about all of that. Plus, COVID. So, I think, and I don't know, I'm not saying that anxiety is like a great thing to have, but I think sometimes thinking about these things helps you sometimes prepare for them too. What do you think?
Say that again?
I was like, sometimes, even though like I tend to overthink things, I do think that sometimes thinking about some of this stuff is helpful in being like prepared. It's kind of like I feel like sometimes it also allows me to be like, to strategize or to kind of anticipate things that might come up. And I was saying, do you think that is true?
It could be.
Okay. So I get it. Again, I can see how this is like a more of a one-sided topic of me kind of talking through things out loud in front of you versus.
I mean, it's cool.
Yeah.
It
helps
me know what you're going through or what you're thinking, and so so that way I'm not dismissing your feelings or anything like that. But my thing is, don't worry so much about the things that you can't control.
I agree, but I also say, like, that's the thing with anxiety is, like, it literally is worrying about the things that you can't control sometimes, because it almost feels like it almost feels as like a reflex, like you can't even necessarily shake it, but talking about it helps me, and talking about it with you, talking about it with my, like, close friends who have, especially, like, those who have children and stuff like that. It just makes me think about a lot, and I'm also, like, on a I'm not gonna say a lesser or smaller note, but, like, I have my moments too where which in general of, like, this pregnancy and this process and the idea of having, another child come into this world, and, like, my dad not being here, I sometimes I get weepy and emotional about that, because even at the very least, even at this time in my life when I was pregnant with Tatum, my father was here for this, Mm-hmm. He was there when she was born. He was there for my first Mother's Day. He was there for, her first few months of her life. And now this time around, it's like, in the physical sense, he's not here for any of that. And even the fact that this is a boy, it's like, my dad was a boy. So it was, there's that aspect to it. So it's just that thing that makes me, it makes me miss him more. Our son is due towards the end of September. My dad was born towards the end of September. So there's, like, a lot of that, like, similarities there. So it gets hard to shake that feeling sometimes. But I'm glad that we kind of talked about it, because I was, like, worried a little bit about, like, I guess I was, like, worried about, like, stressing you out, or, like, I don't want to say confusing you, but, like, you being like, where is all this coming from? Why are you tripping? Because sometimes I trip, but I don't know. It just feels nice to be able to kind of say this stuff out loud, and, like let me to say this to all you guys, because you can't see TJ, but, like, there's no faces made, and not that he always does that, but, like, there's not a look of, like, confusion on your face, because it's like, I know that sometimes you don't mean to, like, look like, sometimes when you don't understand, you know what I mean, like, you genuinely don't understand, so you look confused, and so it's nice to, like, have you look at me and just kind of be like, you hear me, you know what I mean? Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Well, that really wasn't much of a quarrel, was it? But we have a little bit more time, so we might be able to squeeze another one in. Do you want one? Do you want to?
Sure. What do you have?
All right. So another topic, kind of like we're going all the way from birth and babies to a little bit older. We're talking about school-age folks. And the scenario is, who is accountable when a child is failing, or I'm presuming school, of course, or is not meeting success. Let's say they're not meeting success in some capacity. Who's accountable when a child is failing or not meeting success if the child lives primarily with one parent over the other? So I did an obscene amount of talking for that last quote-unquote quarrel, so I will let you take that, and what do you think?
So the child is not performing
up to par. And they clearly, in this case, the parents are not together, or they're not cohabitating together. So if the child is primarily with one parent over the other, who is where does the how do you split the accountability? Is it 50-50? Is it 70-30? Is it 100-0?
I think every relationship is going to be different. So it just depends on how they're rocking. I mean, it should be a 50-50, but sometimes it's not, It depends on the circumstance and what you allow, or what, if the two parents can't get along, then, they may want to be that the one parent may want to be there, but the other parent is blocking them or making it difficult. So they're not there. But now, if the child is successful, that parent would be like, it's because of me. But if the child's not successful, then it's like,
Yeah, I guess I would need greater context. So like if this was you and I, right? And we weren't together and one of us has primary, like Tatum is living primarily with one of us over the other. And she's not meeting success. While being under the same roof absolutely has like packs a heavy punch as far as like the routines, the influence, the like this is what the job is when you're in school and stuff like that. I wouldn't completely absolve either of us. Like if if it was you who had her more than I did or me, I wouldn't absolve either of us completely. Yeah, like
but
I would need to
based
know
off of their connection.
Yeah.
One thing that me and you agree on, I believe, is that if we weren't together, what's best for Tatum is going to be the one thing that we will be able to meet in the middle. And,
always have like the open lines of communication on.
Yeah. Like
that's true.
It's about her. So if she failed, it would be both of us. It wouldn't be she's with Dani more, so it's Dani, or she's with TJ more, so it's TJ. Yeah. That's a different situation.
Yeah.
But if I'm not allowed to be in my child's life, or if I'm not given the opportunity, I hold some of it because it's still my child. But if you blocked me,
I don't think it's necessarily an even split, but I think that there's like if there's a modern
accountability has to go both ways, always.
And it's like, I don't think it would be a thing of like, oh yeah, this is like 50-50 our fault, but especially if there's like poor communication between two people when it comes, especially like if you can't communicate even for the sake of your child or your children, it's a thing of like, then while I don't think that the ownership is split down the middle, I do think that it's still shared to some degree, because directly, let's say the parent that's like the primary custodian of the child is not following up with them enough and making sure that they're getting what they need to get done in order to meet success or to pass or whatever that looks like. But then maybe on the non-primary custodial parent, it could be like a thing of the if it's like the communication issue, right? Because it takes two to tango. So it's like that part could be the thing of like contributing to the detriment of the child, right? Like, or to the lack of success, because like I refuse to talk to you, or I don't want to, not even I refuse to, I don't want to talk to you, or I'm avoiding you, or whatever. So like that adds insult to injury. I guess that's what I'm trying to get at. But and again, depending on the age of the child, some of the onus maybe needs to be split 3 ways. Like some of the onus might fall on the kid. Like if are we talking about a 4th grader, or are we talking about an 11th grader? Because that makes a difference too. And I think that that's like, there's some ownership that needs to be taken there as well, because depending on the age of the child, because they understand like, I need to do this, I need to pass, I need to get B's, whatever, or if I have to just simply pass in order to make it to the next level, then that also needs to be something that they need to get done. And if it's not something that they want to do, then they need to come up with, all right, well, this is what I want to do instead. But I guess with that one, it's still shared. It's just it's a shared accountability, but it's a sliding scale of who gets the majority. But even if not,
people are going to have their own perception of what it is regardless. So like people are going to see their situation, and how I looked at these people's situation is going to be different how you look at it and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So people are always going to have a sliding scale of who's more accountable.
I mean, and most people are not going to say, yeah, that was me, I fucked up. Like, they're not going to be like, yeah, I didn't do enough. Because perception is reality, and everybody thinks that they're doing probably sometimes more than their share of the, you know, the work or the effort and stuff like that, when really it may not be that way. But even in the event that it is, nobody's perfect. You know, even if you put to the side this particular like scenario that we were, presented with, even when you and I who are together, like there are parenting styles and style choices that you and I make, and behaviors that Tatum exhibits, which you kind of talked about last week or week before last, and there's ownership that you and I have to take on and being responsible for Tatum and being her parents. But depending on what it is, it might be me having to take more ownership of that, and then depend on something else, you would have to take more ownership for your contribution to that. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And it doesn't mean that we aren't trying our best. It doesn't mean that we're not trying to do right by her, and we ultimately trying to do right by him when he gets here. But it's a thing of, how do we talk about it? How do we compromise, right? With my relationship tip, how do we bring it back, put our cards on the table so that way we can come to a fair compromise? And how do we do better? Because what I will say, and I feel like I'll end on this note, is when people come together to have children, what's best for you stops being the priority for, really, I mean, quite honestly, it's for forever, but especially in the formative years. If you're talking about 0 to 18, 0 to 21, I'm not saying you lose yourself in being a mother, or you lose yourself in being a father, but the thing is like, ultimately, the children you have did not ask to be here. So it's your responsibility to make sure that the decisions that you make for them, with them, or with them in mind are what's the best case scenario for them, and not just what you want to see happen, or what's going to make you look like a good mom or dad, or what's going to make you feel less like accountable, you know? So that's just kind of where my head is at with that. What do you think?
I agree.
Oh, look at that. So not much of a quarrel after all this episode, but I think we talked about some important things. We kind of had covered, like I said, we went from babies to school age with some of these topics, and I think that that's important because niggas is going through it. Well, all right, y'all. Here we are. Thank you for being patient with us and us being a little late with the show, coming out a day late, but we're still giving you all the things, and we hope that you enjoyed it. And, let us know your thoughts, because I know for one, I felt like I was being pretty vulnerable this episode. So I would really appreciate any feedback that anybody has. And I'll try to follow up with folks on Instagram and Twitter about it. But, this has been yet another episode of Lovers Quarrel. You know that you can find us on Twitter at Lovers Quarrel 7. You can find us on Instagram at Lovers Quarrel Show. And you can email us your feedback, thoughts, headaches, heartaches at loversquarrelshow@gmail.com. Folks, make sure you go see the OG Black Man or the Four Good Brothers Instagram pages to get more information on getting tickets to Jack in the Box this summer. I'm super jealous I will not be there. But as always, this has been yet another episode of Lovers Quarrel. And you know that I am your girl, Dani.
And I'm your guy, TJ.
And we fuss.
We fight, but we love. Bye. Say bye-bye.
Bye-bye.